Alright, well, back over here. Let's hear what Jessica has to say about our lovely Leon, the future heir of the family and such. And also something about a ghost story? Like a ghost from the VIP room that the title of the chapter is saying?
来年は生徒会長になる気だろう。私の肩身が狭くなるからやめてくれって。でも、翌年にちゃっかり立候補して当選しちゃいやがった。高校でもそう。今度こそやめてくれって言ったのに、その時点でもまた副会長で。また3年になるのと同時に会長になりやがった。父さんはちやほやちやほや。母さんはあなたも妹として恥ずかしくないよ頑張りなさいってチクチクチクチク。
でもそんなリオンの妹であることを誇りにも思ってるんでしょ。
Which, speaking of, where is Leon? Is Leon hearing all this coming from Jessica's mouth?
別にそんなこと思ったことはねえぜ。ああねえぜ。全然ねえぜ。
上が完璧だと息も詰まら。だが他人は他人、お前はお前だ。何も萎縮することはない。お前のしたいように精一杯好きにしたらいい。
もちろん。でも母さんたちは後宮リオンの妹として恥ずかしくないよ後を引き継げってうるさい。
Screw them.
生徒会に入れだの、バドミントンやれだの。
軽音楽はやっていないのか？
Yeah, you do. I remember those times. Back when I was young. 2 years ago.
それは秘密ないっしょ。
Apparently, she's keeping a secret from her family. Yeah. Only me and Will know about this here. And we're just basically talking about it in public here. Interesting. People often like to blame their family for what they've grown up to be like. But even in a different role with a different family, the interests of the girl called Jessica are the same as ever. Yeah, oddly enough, well, maybe not oddly enough, but even with Leon being added to the family, Jessica is basically Jessica when I'm thinking about like timeline changing and such. It's admirable that she has such a true and constant interest in something.
俺は好きだぞ。ペッタンペッタンとか。
Oh my! Are we gonna find out that Will is a secret fan of Jessica here?
スイーツスイーツとか。
Nothing wrong with the extraordinarily accomplished sort, like Leon, but kids who act their age do have their charms. That or, you know, Will is just screwing with Jessica here. Or, I guess, a more than likely possibility would be that Will is testing some reactions from Jessica just to learn more about Jessica in this, see if she's actually the same as Jessica in the other games. That seems more likely like a Leon thing to do. He likes to question things and get like extra details that are a little bit subtle to us the readers.
そういう生き方が一番だ。
Like, wait, did I say Leon? I meant Will. Like, Will is like that. He is not quite the jokey type. But, you know, I can totally see Will as actually a fan of Jessica singing and such. I mean, why the fuck not?
謳歌しろ、青春を。
そりゃどうもありがとう。
I mean, it has been like 6 games, Jessica. When are you gonna release your next album? Apparently, no one had ever told Jessica that they approved of how she lived. And the direct way Will had put it made her turn red and hang her head in embarrassment. No.
今度はお前たちに話が聞きたい。
さっきマリアちゃんとしていた？
そうだ。ベアトリーチェについて知っていることを聞きたい。
マリアちゃんはオカルトや魔女のことが大好きだからね。彼女にとってベアトリーチェはアニメのヒロインと同じ憧れの存在なんだよ。何か些細なことがあるたびにそれを魔女の魔法によるいたずらだと信じてる。
お前は大人だな。そしてそうは思ってもマリアには絶対に言わないところも大人だ。
当然さ。子供の夢は子供の時にしか見られない。その貴重な経験を尊重するのが大人の仕事だと思ってるよ。
Childhood dreams only happen when you're a kid. So what, you're saying that dreams that when you had a kid are never gonna happen as an adult?
お前とは話が合いそうだ。
George's position was that Beatrice was nothing more than a fairy tale. I mean, you know, some kids dream about becoming astronauts. Maybe not all of them will become astronauts, but, you know, we do have astronauts, actual astronauts in space right now as we speak, so what does that tell you? However, that phrase, respecting a child's dreams, is the adult thing to do. That might be worthy of further scrutiny. When she got a candy from Beatrice by magic, Maria probably got excited and told George and the others. Then the adults followed his lead and possibly went along with her story, as adults should, quote-unquote. However, there could be other ways this sort of reaction could occur, other than as an adult's response to a child's claims. For example, it could be an inferior's response to the claims of their superior. If Kinzo, tyrant of the Ushirumiya family, claimed that Beatrice existed and had revived, perhaps the other members of the family would possibly go along with his story, as his inferiors should. Though Beatrice only appeared directly in front of a limited number of people, it's probably safe to say that the concept of her existence penetrated deeply within the Ushirumiya family, even among those who had never seen her. However, no matter how deeply that concept penetrated, she was only viewed as a sort of a fairy tale character. It would be necessary to transform the concept of that character from an imaginary fairy tale into reality. So, a person attempting to do this would need to perform something that could only conceivably be done by magic. And that something was the series of witch incidents that started with the nighttime window opening pranks, played by Bato the Elder. Yeah. Again, as I said before, like, the small things that the Bato does that plants the idea of the existence of Beatrice into the minds of those who live on Rokkenjima. Not by showing herself in front of everyone, but slowly do it, like, imperceptibly through time. And ultimately escalate to locked-room murders. Yep. Bato the Elder referred to this, saying that the anti-magic power filling the mansion would be weakened by bit the more she made her existence known. Cause if Beatrice did not do these pranks and such, which, now that I'm thinking about it, it gives me like another topic of discussion, but I'm gonna do this a little bit after this. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. No! Okay, well, at least I'm gonna talk about the new idea that came to mind right now. But yeah, it kind of makes me think, like, before we seen Beatrice do pranks with Maria, or not seen, but rather we were told about these pranks that they both do. I liked to think that Beatrice did it because, well, what else are you gonna do on this island? To enjoy yourself. And same thing goes for Shannon, if I'm to apply my ideas. I mean, Shannon serves a lot. She must have some fun herself, you know, in her spare time. Have some fun with Maria and all that, but could it be that she only did that to serve her future plans? Eh. I like to think that it's both. I like to think that Shannon / Beatrice did it to plant the seed of Beatrice for the future, but she also did it just to have fun with somebody, especially with Maria. Maybe she didn't think much of it at the beginning, like she only did it to plant the seed, plant the idea of the existence of Beatrice. Maybe she did that initially, but through time, through doing like lots of pranks with Maria, she started enjoying this stuff more and more. I can definitely imagine that sort of thing. I can totally imagine that sort of thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. The other thing that I wanted to mention though, maybe I'll remember. Beatrice, why did you desire so greatly to make all others accept your existence? Imagine, well, like, what is going on with my mind? Like, I was talking about, I was gonna go into an idea, but then a new idea just came, and I forgot the old idea, so I talked about the new idea. Okay. Because the imaginary becomes the truth if everyone accepts it. Because at the moment, the being called Beatrice will be acknowledged and will become human. In that case, before Beatrice is acknowledged by all people, she is less than human. Ah yeah, of course, like, okay, I got the idea, I remember now. Like, if Beatrice did not do those pranks in the first place, if she didn't do, like, all those small things to make everyone on Rokejima think of Beatrice from time to time, then when the murders happen, when the locked-room murders happen, like, those murders would not have the same effect that the Beatrice wanted. They would probably think less of Beatrice and more of somebody else who does the murder. That it is not done by magic, but... yeah, you know, I think that we actually talked about this before. Why would furniture want to become human? It feels like this was the theme of the previous game. Because they want to gain the right. Furniture cannot. So they try to become human for the right to love. It really is quite simple. It's directly connected to the reason that Chick Beato was born in the first place.
なるほどな。分かってはいるが、複雑だ。
I cannot ignore the heart.
ベアトリーチェの葬儀に参加しておいて、こんなことを言うのも申し訳ないけれど、僕も説明できるほどベアトリーチェという人物のことに詳しくないんです。申し訳ない。その話はここに住んでるジェシカちゃんの方が僕よりももう少しは詳しいかもしれない。そういえばジェシカちゃん、こちらの方を紹介したっけ？い
や、実はまだ。お客様がいらっしゃるってのに尻ばっかつねるどっかの誰かのせいできちんと挨拶もできなかったぜ。
A bit late, Jessica looked embarrassed for acting rudely in front of an unfamiliar guest. She cleared her throat and made a beautiful bow that didn't fit well with her normal attitude. She even lifted the corners of her skirt in a curtsy.
はじめまして。ジェシカと申します。本日は後宮家へようこそ。いや、お日柄もよく、
ウィラードだ。ウィルと呼べ。
Jessica's greeting had been of the old-fashioned sort, so Will also treated her like an old-fashioned lady. He bent down on one knee, took Jessica's right hand, and kissed the back of it. Oh my. Not expecting her greeting to be returned in such an old-fashioned and formal way, Jessica turned red and wasn't able to speak. However, Will had returned the greeting in what he thought was a perfectly serious way. So he didn't understand what was making Jessica's face glow. I mean, you know Jessica, right? She's a teenager.
何かおかしいことをしたか
Well, actually, what the fuck am I talking about over here? It doesn't matter if you're a teenager. Look at Will. You would find him hot no matter what age you are.
いや、全然、あ、
お前の知っているベアトリーチェの話が聞きたい。
A glow leaked from Will's right hand, which was grasping Jessica's. Oop, time for another story! It looks like the theater-going power is having its effect on Jessica. I didn't mean for that to happen. Oh well.
ベアトリーチェのことだっけ？話してもいいけど、約束してくれる？絶対に笑わないって。
I actually questioned like these theater-going powers from before, but okay, I honestly don't remember if this was actually explained before when we were like I don't think it was explained here in episode 7, but maybe Federin talked about this, about her powers. I don't remember, but the way I see it, like with these theater-going powers, you're actually gonna be able to hear like the stories of individual pieces, because apparently from the way this is done, Will can basically touch people's hands and apparently you can get some sort of story of their past from the looks of it. It's similar fashion to how they're telling their own story. And in similar fashion to how Federin was like in similar fashion to how Federin was with Angie in the previous game. She was basically telling a story to Angie. She was basically telling the story of episode 6. So, similar fashion here.
今にして思うと、きっと寝ぼけてたんだと思うから。
お前は何を知っている？笑わない。聞かせろ。
いいよ。どこから話そうかな。
To me, the Golden Witch Beatrice is sort of like one of the 7 mysteries of the Ushirimiya family. You've heard of those, right? Almost all schools have a set of tall tales or ghost stories that get passed down. Like, on some days, the piano in the music room will start playing by itself, or the skeleton in the science room dances around at night. Sorry, my bad, that's me. Like, I like to relax and dance in the science room at night after a long day of investigating and such. My bad. Like, I'm sorry if that spooks people. Everyone's heard of them. And of course, that doesn't mean they believe in them. The stories about Beatrice were the same. It was just one of those strange tales about our way too big mansion. The servants would sometimes talk about seeing things or whatever during their night patrols. Sometimes I felt a bit annoyed about them turning my home into a place for ghost stories, but I didn't pay it any more attention than that. That's how little it mattered to me. So, during my normal everyday life, I would completely forget about the name Beatrice. Of course, when that huge portrait was first hung, I was definitely creeped out. Even I tried not to meet her eyes after dark. So, yeah, I don't blame the servants for finding it eerie. But that only lasted for a short while. I mean, I walked by that portrait every day. I gradually got used to it, and eventually bored of it. It was just a portrait that grandfather blew a bunch of money on, showing the mistress from his delusions. I was past caring.
だろうな。年に何度も来ない親戚連中ならともかく。
そういうこと。だから親族会議になると親戚たちが必ず肖像画の前で決まってベアトリーチェの話をする。だから定期的に思い出させられるのさ。
ベアトリーチェ、また遊びに来たよ。また新しい魔法を書いたの。後で見てね。
マリアちゃんは本当にベアトリーチェが好きだな。おじいさまが肖像画を掲げて以来大喜びみたいだ。
あれ、エンジェは？
キリエおばさんと薬を飲みに戻ったよ。
エンジェは本当に体が弱えな。バートラとは大違いだぜ。
緊張すると体調を崩すタイプなんだよ。
You know, we don't think much of Angie getting sick, but... And maybe I pointed this out in the past, but... Wow. Like, you get sick, and thus you avoid, like, disaster over here. Now, granted, it is up to debate whether... Well... Whether Angie should have stayed sick or not. Like, which route would have been better, because Angie's life became hell after the incident, so yeah. Nonetheless, it does seem that Angie gets, like, pretty darn sick, like, a lot. Not just at the family conference from 1986, but even here as well.
僕も昔は遠足の日や映画の日なんかに限って体調を崩したりしたもんさ。
それに比べたらマリアはタフだぜ。新島からこっちに来るまでの間、ずっとベアトリーチェの話三昧さ。ここしばらくずっとだけど、ちょっと行き過ぎだよな。
いいんじゃないかな。子供の想像遊びだよ。ジェシカちゃんは子供がサンタクロースに会ったことがあるって言い出したら、嘘だって言っちゃうのかい？
まあ、そこまでは言わねえけどさ。
Maria kept talking to the portrait as though he was an old friend. She promised to play with it later, as if she was talking to a living human. George, a man, seemed to think that this was behavior from a younger member of the opposite sex was cute. But, to be perfectly frank, Jessica, who was the same sex as Maria, found this behavior a bit unpleasant regardless of Maria's age. At one time, even I was fascinated by anime heroines and other fictional characters. However, Maria's behavior seems to signify something more direct than mere fascination. It's something much more definite, more vivid. Am I the only one who notices something odd about her? I'll bet the others all notice too, but try to ignore it because of that adult dignity George Nissan is always talking about. Until a second ago, Kinzo's children were complaining that eating lunch with their father would give them indigestion. But now that they knew he wasn't coming, they started grumbling about how he should at least spare the time to come down during the annual family conferences.
それでは皆様、ランチを始めさせていただきます。遠方よりお集まりの皆様をおもてなしできるよう、この号だ。腕によりをかけてご用意させていただきました。
Alright, well, thank you, Goldie. No one's stomach would fail to rumble after hearing that from the great chef Gora. By the time the splendid dishes were laid out, everyone had stopped talking about Kinzo's absence. It was now Angie's absence that was being discussed. Apparently, her stomachache had gotten so bad that neither she nor Kiria could make it to lunch.
かわいそうに。ゴーダ、後でキリエさんに相談して、お粥のようなものを用意するように。
Okay, a random thought came to my mind right now. So, yeah, we know that Angie got sick in 1986, though she couldn't go to the family conference, but apparently it seems to be a reoccurring thing going on over here that she misses a lot of these meetings. What if we were to apply the same thing that is happening with Kinzo? Like Natsuhi and the servants and the doctor are hiding Kinzo's death. Imagine if we do the same with Angie. Like, Angie never existed to begin with. Ooh! Should I go and search for that kind of theory as well? Should I go with that kind of idea?
ああ、気を利かせてくれてありがとう。本当にすまねえな。どうも緊張に弱い子みたいでな。
幼いうちはそんなもんや。
Yeah, honestly, I don't see that thing. Yeah, honestly, I don't see it being a case over here, because if you were to go with that kind of crazy idea, then what is the deal with Angie's school days and such? Like, why were we shown it? Yeah, whatever.
吐いたりしないだけ可愛いもんやで。
ジョージはよく吐いたわね。昔は本当に病弱だったのよ。ねえ。
昔の話は許してよ。食事時にする話じゃないよ。
エンジェかわいそう。こんな美味しいご飯なのに食べられない？
かわいそうにな。元気になったらその分いっぱい遊んであげようぜ。
ダメ。マリアとは遊べない。
なんだよ。
Yeah, because of Maria's here.
どうして？
だってマリアはベアトリーチェと遊ぶんだもん。だからエンジェとは遊べない。
ベアトリーチェと遊ぶって。またどっかに一人で行ってぶつくさ独り言言いながら本を読んでるだけだろ。
Uh-oh. Jessica slightly regretted that she hadn't been more tactful. However, she couldn't wipe away that uncomfortable feeling she got every time Maria talked about Beatrice. And that feeling slipped out through her words.
一人じゃないよ。ベアとも一緒だもん。
Maria may have been young, but she already knew how to read a person's tone. She immediately burst out in anger, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. Normally, Rosa would have stopped her at this point. However, Rosa happened to have gone to the bathroom, so there was no one to calm Maria down. Well, it's not like Rosa can do a great job of calming Maria down, so...
ジェシカはかわいそうだね。毒素の塊だもの。ベアとはまだまだ魔力が弱いからジェシカの前になんか現れたら焼き散らされてしまう。でもね、いつかきっとジェシカの前にも現れてくれるよ。誰の前にも。そして黄金鏡の扉を開いてもらうの。でも招かれるかわからないね。だけどマリアだけは連れて行ってもらえるの、黄金鏡に。でもジェシカはダメだよ。ジェシカはダメ。ベアトリーチェのことをバカにする無知猛昧愚昧曖昧愚かも極まれりの汚らしい毒素まみれの人間風情。
ベアトリーチェのことをバカにされた時のマリアと来たらまるで別人さ。
マリア二重人格説なんてのもあったな。
二重人格。ああ、そいつは多分ぴったりな表現だろうな。
I mean, it goes back to episode 1 when I was thinking about someone possessing Maria. Phew.
あるいはそれがマリアにとっての理想の人格だったのかもしれない。
I think that at some point I was thinking that Lambda Delta was actually possessing Maria because of the Halloween party in episode 2. Well, not Halloween party, but like the Halloween suite and such, with the Halloween theme of the game.
自分のなりたいもう一人の自分を生み出すの話か。
なんで私のモットーを知ってんだよ。
難しく考えるな。頭痛になら。
That was something Jessica had once told Khan. She had been talking about how anyone can create another self that they can really grow to like. I think we heard those words somewhere near the beginning of the second game. Now that I think about it, some very interesting topics have been talked about since the very early on.
誰だって自分が本当になりたい自分があるんだ。でもなれない。
Now that I'm thinking about it with that kind of talk, now that we know of how originally, well, going with my previous ideas, like 6 years ago, Shannon wanting to become Beatrice for the sake of Balor. Yeah. Everyone has something they really want to become, including Beatrice.
生活やしがらみの中に今の自分がいるからこそ、今の自分を変えるなんてことできやしないんだ。
そうだな。自分を変えるとは環境も変えるということだ。それは容易なことじゃね
え。だから私は今の自分はそのままに、本当になりたい自分をもう一人生み出すことを思いついたんだ。
両家のお嬢様であることを強いられ窒息しそうな日々に、お前はなりたい自分を見出した。
だからって家で破天荒はできないさ。母さんに怒鳴られるのがオチだぜ。だからそうした。
You planned to take over the role with your singing.
家にいるおとなしく親の言うことを聞く私に加え、本当になりたい私をもう一人生み出したんだ。
家ではおとなしく親の言うことを聞き、表ではやりたいようにやる。正しい生き様だ。胸を張れ。
ありがとう。まあつまりなりたい自分ってのはその気になりゃ案外作り出せるもんなんだよな。マリアも同じなんだろうと思った。
興奮してまくし立てるマリアもそうだというのか。
あれこそがマリアのなりたいマリアなんじゃないかなって、そう思うことがあるよ。
親族で一番の年少で可愛がられてはいるが、尊敬されているわけではない。
何を知っても覚えても、そんなのは親族の誰かが知ってる。マリアに威張れることは何もない。私たちはマリアが何かを覚えるたびに微笑ましく褒めてたつもりだけど、ひょっとしたらそれが彼女を傷つけていたのかもしれない。
マリアは何かの権威になりたかったということか。
It's something that all young boys and girls who want to shake off their childhood think. It's not a bad feeling when you learn something new and your parents praise you. But when you realize that your parents already knew that thing, it sometimes feels like they're talking down to you. Does it? I mean, I guess Maria feels that way, but Hmm. I mean, the idea of somebody seeing you as a kid, like even though you're an adult, that's something that I can see, like getting mad at. But this specific thing over here, when a kid learns their one-digit times table, their parents will probably praise them. However, inconsiderate parents will sometimes ask me questions like, then what is 11 times 11? Or what is 16 times 16? Or something like that. If that happens, the kid will lose this feeling of accomplishment and start to feel as though he could never surpass his parents. I see.
だからマリアが誰も知らないオカルトに関心を持ち、
I see. So again, it is the way people treated her when she learned new stuff. Like, it's not necessarily that they praised her, but it's more that they kept asking her, like, and such, and she didn't feel respect when she learned some stuff. So Maria decided, hey, how about I learn something that nobody else knows? Then I will show them that I have the power.
その知識を深めていったのは容易に想像できる。多分マリアにとっての理想の自分というのは、みんなに尊敬されるオカルトの権威の自分なんだ。
普段の生活でオカルトの話ばかりしていたらローザにぶたれるからな。お前がそうであるように普段はもう一人の自分を隠しているというわけだ。
私はこんな時のマリアをそうだと思ってる。いや、本当の自分が普段の自分を塗りつぶしてしまったと言うべきかな。
Well, there are some other factors that we've seen in the previous game, so I mean, at the very least, it's good that you've seen this kind of angle as well, Jessica, because this could be as well. It's not one or the other. It could be this and the other factors that we've seen in the previous games.
私もそういうのちょっと覚えが。
Like, this can also be seen as her just, using this other self to protect herself, since her normal self, she views it as something that she cannot use to protect herself. So she's using this Beatrice-like persona to protect herself.
真相の霊場に憧れて病弱な自分になれたらいいなと思って、咳する真似ばっかしてたら悪い癖になって。
咳込めば周りが優しくしてくれるからか。
いや嫌な話の流れになった時とか空気悪い時とかに流れを断ち切れるし。
Oh.
なるほど。それもまたお前のなりたいもう一人の自分なんだな。
この話は内緒で頼むぜ。
Yeah, we're not gonna tell anyone about this, but okay, well, this is surprising. Apparently, the cuffs that Jessica had in the previous, in like the first two games, they were fake. Cause, yeah, when you think about it, this sort of stuff happens like during really intense moments, and Jessica starts coughing like a lot, and then everything stops. Jessica more than likely sees this as a way of stopping the conflict so that everyone gets distracted from the source of the conflict and instead focus on Jessica so that everything will calm down afterwards when the coughing stops and such. So it is a way for Jessica to do this and stop everything with her coughing fits. I was actually thinking, like, at some point, man, it has been like a really long time since I've seen Jessica have like asthma attacks. Hell, like after episode 2, or more like after episode 3, Jessica just became more and more spunky with her energy and just railed on everyone's, just doing all wada 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 on Renoe's shield, or just burning Kirie to hell and back in episode 6 and such. Whereas before, she was doing a lot of cuffing, that's for sure. So I was thinking, like, what would be the reason behind that? Then, just what is the other self in Maria's case? An authority on the occult who can out-argue even adults? Or else someone who converses and mingles with liches? Either way, denying Beatrice in front of Maria is clearly taboo. In her search for something more than her everyday life, Maria had found it in Beatrice and inside herself. Then, is going to the Golden Land with Beatrice Maria's wish?
話が脱線したか。まあそんな感じで、ローザおばさんが戻ってくるまでマリアは癇癪を起こしちゃって。よせばいいのに、私も売り言葉に買い言葉で返しちゃって。
ベアトリーチェなどいるわけないと。
そんなとこいるもんなら合わせてみろよって。マリアが大泣きしだした頃にはさすがに失言が過ぎたかと後悔もしたぜ。
それで
親族会議自体は私が一方的にマリアに対しギスギスして終わり。マリアはケロリとしてたよ。一人でどこかに行ってまたベアトリーチェと一緒に遊んでたうんぬんと楽しそうに語ってたから。私を含め誰も頭ごなしに否定したりなんかしない。もうそういうものなんだと思って聞き流して無視してるってのが正解さ。
親族会議の話はそれで終わりなのか？
この話自体はね、私がしたいのはこれが終わって親族がみんな帰ってからの話さ。
Ah, yes. Up until now, it was the setup to the horror story. Now we're gonna see the monster come after Jessica after all that shit talking that Jessica did. You know, now the monster, the queen, is gonna come after Jessica and pinch her butt. I cannot wait. Even after the conference ended, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. You know, I can totally imagine it a little bit. Not in similar fashion to how you would pinch a butt, but what if Beatrice decided to do a prank on Jessica and just use like a slingshot from a distance and then just hit her in the butt as if somebody pinched her butt or something? That would totally be something. If Maria had just stayed, man, we would have made up with each other and I could have put it all behind me. But since Maria got over it, it felt like I was the only one unsatisfied. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, you know, if we were talking about like a friendship over here, like nobody should be left unsatisfied. The fact that the other person is satisfied without even talking about this to the other person, it's actually quite
おやお嬢様、どうなさいましたか？お暗い顔をして。
ああ、熊沢さんか。いや別に大したことは。親族のみんなは無事に帰ったかな？
時間通りならもう新島の空港に着かれているでしょう。お嬢様もお疲れ様でございました。
私は何もしてねえぜ。使用人のみんなも本当にお疲れ様。
昨日のマリア様との喧嘩をまだ気にしておられるのですか？
まあね。
子供の言うことではありませんか。お嬢様ももう高校生なのですから、深く気にすることもないでしょうに。
熊沢さんはマリアのあれ、子供の言うただのザレ言だと思ってる？
ベアトリーチェ様のお話でございますか？
熊沢さんもベアトリーチェ様と来たもんだ。
Beatrice is the name of grandfather's mistress, the person he's still infatuated with. I realized that, as a servant, Kumasawa-san can't speak of her indiscreetly. Still, that's now become the name of the fictitious witch who lives in the mansion, and it's almost normal for people to call her Sama.
ベアトリーチェなんて、私たちが森へ行かないよう大人がでっち上げた階段だぜ。それをいつの間にかマリアが面白がって、本当にいるかのように振る舞い出しやがった。
そんなことを言っては罰が当たりますよ。ベアトリーチェ様はいるのですから。
だからさ、そういうのダメなんだよ、生理的に。ジョージ兄さんの話じゃねえけどさ、サンタなんかいるわけねえとまで騒ぎはしねえぜ。だからってサンタが本当にいるわけじゃねえ。
それは間違いですよ、お嬢様。
間違い？
はい。万物八百万には神様が宿っておられます。同じようにこの島、このお屋敷にはベアトリーチェ様が宿っておられるのです。神様と同じくベアトリーチェ様も敬っていれば何も害はなしません。お嬢様の言うようにいないも同然でしょう。しかし敬いを忘れれば必ずや罰が当たります。これは何もベアトリーチェ様に限ったことではないのですよ。
罰が当たるなんて上等じゃねえか。会えるもんなら会ってみてえぜ。
お嬢様、そんな罰当たりではいけませんよ。
Yeah, Beatrice can surely hear you say all that from the bushes. Okay.
お嬢様、
本日はお疲れ様でございました。
シャノンにゴーダさんさ、ベアトリーチェの話は知ってるよな。
And, you know, I do talk smack about Beatrice, but, you know, it's out of love. That and, you know, after 7 games, I think I have the right to you know, bully Beatrice from time to time without getting my ass kicked.
まあ存じているといえば存じておりますが、それが何か。
And the two looked at each other. They looked like a pair who had just heard a clueless person suddenly utter a forbidden word.
ぶっちゃけ聞くぜ。いるの？そんなお化け。
いるかいないかと言われればそれはいないでしょうが、多分。
私はきっといらっしゃると思います。
どうしているって？会ったことあるの？
直接会ったことがあるわけじゃありませんけど、
Shannon talked in detail about how she would sometimes feel a strange presence, or see a silhouette while doing the midnight rounds. Or from time to time you see like pellets from slingshots like on the carpet once in a while. Jessica dismissed each example as it was given, saying Shannon must have seen it wrong or been mistaken.
ゴーダさんだって会ったことあるわけじゃないだろ？
もちろんですとも。しかし まあ
He was being very evasive. Even a man as big as Gora was apparently unable to deny the existence of someone he'd ever met. This really didn't sit well with Jessica. She was herself a resident of this mansion. You know, acting as though someone else, someone she didn't know, was living here. Of course, she didn't like it.
ちょっと待った。今の話をもう一度。
と言いますと、
貴賓室の話ですか？
Godan Shannon had been recounting several ghost stories about Beatrice. One of those drew a reaction from Jessica.
そうそう。今の貴賓室の話。
Phew, the VIP room. I remember last time when Jessica threw quite a fit. Like after the murders happened in the second game. Beatrice was considered an important guest. She was in the VIP room, and Jessica decided after a while to barge in and question Beatrice, but she wasn't there. Huh. Okay.
面白いぜ。
Quite an interesting callback. Godan and Shannon glanced at each other. They hadn't tried to talk about anything cool.
貴賓室には午前2時に入ってはいけないですか？
午前2時にはベアトリーチェ様が貴賓室にお戻りになるので近づいてはいけないですか？
そうそう、それそれ。面白いぜ。どの話もベアトリーチェらしきものを見たの聞いたのって体験談ばっかだけど、その話は違うぜ。午前2時に貴賓室に行けばベアトリーチェ様にお会いできるってわけだ。
それはどうでしょう。
お嬢様、ベアトリーチェ様を悪く言った使用人にはたたりがあると言われています。ましてや貴賓室はベアトリーチェ様のお部屋。
いくらお嬢様でもそれはおよしになられた方が。
貴賓室って今は鍵がかかってるんだっけ？鍵は
キーボックスにあったでしょうか。
多分源氏様がご自分の席にしまわれていると思います。
マスターキーでも開くんでしょ？貸してよ。
そういうわけには参りません。
お嬢様、好んで不吉な場所に近づくことはありません。
おいおい、人の家を勝手に不吉にするんじゃねえぜ。とにかく私は決めた。マスターキーが貸せないなら貴賓室の鍵はあるでしょ？貸して。
お嬢様。
To Jessica, it was their two expressions that felt more like an ill omen than anything else did. It wasn't the witch or the VIP room that felt foreboding to Jessica. It was them, Maria and the others who believed in witches. In the end, Jessica forced them to agree, and she made them bring her the key to the VIP room.
ベアトリーチェが本当に貴賓室に現れるかどうか肝試しをしたというわけか。
そんなとこだぜ。しかし私は何を意地になってたんだろうな。年派もいかないマリアとの喧嘩を引きずってたに違いない。
Of course, the weather just had to be terrible on that particular night. To be honest, I slightly regretted sticking my nose into something so pointless. But I already said so much, and even borrowed a key from them. I couldn't just go to Shannon the next day and let her ask me how it went, and answer, well, I got scared so I gave up. That'd be just pathetic. Normally, I go to sleep long before 2 a.m. If Mom found me wandering the corridors at that time of night, she'd definitely yell at me. So I waited in my room, staring at the hands of my clock as it ticked closer to 2 a.m. Outside, the rain was incredible, and the wind strong. We gotta be careful, Jessica. I hope that you brought in your vacuum cleaner, because it will surely be helpful. The swaying, rustling trees were particularly creepy. I complained to Shannon and Goda about making up ghost stories for my house, but I was starting to feel as though they had a bit of a place after all. The Shiromiya mansion is huge. Honestly, I cannot think of the entire mansion as my own house. As Mom says, the hallways of the Shiromiya mansion should be treated like public roads. In other words, my own room is part of my home, but the hallways and the rooms I don't usually enter are outside. So, while part of me felt that this VIP room ghost story was ridiculous, the other part of me was so creeped out that it kept trying to convince itself that the first part of me was right. 10-2. If I need to greet 2 a.m. inside the VIP room, I need to have already gone in there before.
行くか。悪いが、私も意地だぜ。
Nothing's going to happen. I know that. It'll just be a stupid waste of time for a few minutes. I touched the doorknob to the door of my room, and was startled by how unpleasantly cold it was. As long as I stayed in this room, I could laugh off anything. After all, this was my room. But it wouldn't be like that in the hallway. That's outside my territory. I feel like something is going on over here with Jessica touching the doorknob. Like you remember in episode 4 when Jessica did that test and fought Ronoe in... Well, actually, was it Jessica's room? Yeah, I think it was Jessica's room. Like, this particular room. So it's like a sort of a reverse thing going on over here. Like in test 4, she was touching the doorknob as a sign of a little bit of backing away from the challenge. But here is the opposite. She is going for that challenge by touching that doorknob. And the doorknob, the barrier between the two, was ice cold. Sort of like a poetic thing over here. You touch the doorknob, you're taking the future into your own hands by opening the door to your future. Why are you so scared of me? You aren't taking Shannon's, Goda's, or maybe Kumasawa-san's gossip seriously, are you? I'll prove it. There's nothing strange in the VIP room. The corridor was only dimly lit. Dun. Dun. Dun 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 dun. The hallways were brighter before lights out. But to avoid wasting any energy or something like that, we kept the lights to a minimum at night. So, even though I was inside my house, it was very obviously... Huh! What was that? Oh, never mind. It was just ferret again. If Mom found out that I was wandering around at a time like this to do a test of courage in the VIP room, which I'm not supposed to go in, I get in a lot of trouble. And a lot of spanking. To make sure she didn't find out, I tried to hide my breathing and my footsteps. So the silence felt unbelievably loud. Even though it was so quiet, the eerie sound of the wind was loud in my ears. And the sound of twigs rustling, the sound of some pillar in this old mansion creaking. What's that sound like a beak tapping against glass? Though it was so quiet, all the little suspicious sounds felt obnoxiously loud. Damn. I'm an idiot. Why couldn't I have brought a flashlight at least? A flashlight to use inside my own home? That's even more idiotic. I mumbled this to myself, hoping it would drown out the sound of the wind just a little. Then, I saw it. The door to the VIP room. The VIP room was supposedly reserved for important guests. Okay, Jessica. I do want to offer you like an advice here a little bit. Like, once you enter the VIP room, pay close attention to the paintings inside. Just make sure that there are no ghosts in them. However, as far as I knew, he had never been used. None of the guests who came to this mansion had ever been given the right to use this room. Though I've been clutching the key all this time, it didn't feel warm at all. The icy metal tormented me ruthlessly. Maybe that was a warning. If you go back to your comfortable room and hide in your bed, this night will pass like any other.
バカにすんじゃねえぜ。ここまで来て今さら引き下がれるかってんだ。
The key had been freezing in my hand, urging me to turn back. But the keyhole made no further attempt to stop me. All that's left is to turn the knob, open the door, and I'll be inside the VIP room. It's not like I'd never been in a VIP room. Long ago, when I would often play hide and seek or go exploring, in this room that I rarely entered that seemed unusual and exciting. However, I got in trouble for going in, and was told that this room was important, so one mustn't enter without reason. After that, they made a rule of locking up unused rooms, and I couldn't go in anymore. So, it's probably been several years since I last went into the VIP room. In fact, it might be more than a decade. The inside of the room is probably different from how it was when I knew it. Come to think of it, even then, I feel like there was something unsettling about this room. Slowly, I pushed the door open. It was light. Even after I let go of it, it kept opening by itself, as though beckoning me in. Beyond it was a darkness as thick and heavy as ink. Even the dim light that seeped in from the corridor seemed bright in contrast. Swallowing hard, I stuck my head in, feeling about for the light switch next to the doorway. This was a horribly unnatural and awkward way to do it. All I really had to do was step inside and search for the switch from there. Unwilling to take even a single step into the room, I timidly stuck just my arm into the darkness and felt along the wall.
あった。
The switch, which oddly sounded familiar with a sound effect from the menu screen, which was hardly ever used to begin with, felt stiff and lifeless. However, once the light turned on, the darkness vanished in an instant. You know, I do see this chapter as sort of a side story that is I'm certainly curious of, but you know, past Game 2, I never really thought much about the VIP room in the first place. Like, yeah, it was a VIP room that was used by Beatrice in the second game, but I didn't think much of it, to be quite honest, afterwards. If I'm to think of somebody, whether it's Shannon or somebody else, like, who is Beatrice, they would have, like, specific places in the mansion that they would totally use in order to, you know, do their thing or hide themselves or something like that. Or, like, a place of retreat and such. Like, if I'm to think of my previous ideas, maybe Shannon became the new head of the mansion, with the knowledge of the servants Nanjo and possibly Natsui as well. And thus, they would use this room more than likely. They would allow her to be inside here. So, I mean, besides the VIP room, someone like, say, Shannon, for example, she would have her own room as well, of course. Whether it was in the guest room or inside the mansion, I honestly don't remember. It must be somewhere near the servant room, that's for sure. Like, where the servants usually sleep. But this room, however, I was honestly thinking that maybe sometimes Shannon would even use the room where the gold was found as a place where she can rest and such. I mean, remember when we've seen Beatrice wake up from that same bed inside the gold room? Yeah. It kind of makes me think of that. And there, exactly as it had been, as though not a thing had changed in all these years, was the VIP room. The curtain and bed cover might have been slightly different, and maybe the chairs and the like had changed too. Still, if I had to put it in words, I'd call it the feel. The stiff, lifeless feel of this room hadn't changed. If I hang around here, someone might find me. I'd rather not have mom find me here. I readied myself, and though I hadn't even been able to bring myself to enter this room with the lights out, I finally entered. As soon as I closed the door, I felt an oppressive, suffocating sensation. Alright, I've shut myself in the VIP room. Come out, Beatrice.
今何分だ
I looked around the room, but I couldn't see any clock. I'm not in the habit of wearing a watch around the house. Damn. I'm not sure what time it is. Still, I know it's only a few minutes at most. I tried to suppress my desire to use going to get a clock as an excuse to run away from this place. Even so, just standing around like this was boring. When I looked around again, searching for something to sit on, I found something strange.
なんだよこれ
Oh. It had been placed on a side table next to the bed. If this room had been used often by someone, I thought it was just one of their personal belongings. But there was no one living in this room. So it was possible for this to belong to the room's owner.
お供えかよ気持ち悪いぜ
It did look like an offering. Small French doll was sitting on the side table. The doll's hair was gold. It was wearing a black dress. Just who managed to find this doll? And where? There's no doubt that someone placed a doll here to symbolize Beatrice. Does that mean this doll is supposed to be the owner of this room? Or something? And as though it was an offering to that owner, there sat a small plate with several cookies and wrapped chocolates. And it was all set out neatly, and there was no dust piled up on the door. Like, I like to think that this is... oh, obviously this is a scare tactic, because dolls can be creepy. You know how it is in horror stories and such. Dolls can be used to give creepy vibes and such, but I wonder if there's a deeper meaning to this. Why a doll specifically? In other words, both the doll and the offering were being taken care of on a regular basis by the servants. I mean, the fact that the doll is blonde, that does tell us that, yeah, something to do with Beatrice, but it kept it in good condition along with the rest of the room. Taken care of? No, it was more than that. It looked like an offering. No, like some sort of worship. A prayer saying, "Please don't curse us." So, while the doll was eerie enough by itself, psychologically, it was even more unnerving to think about how it must have been kept safe and worshipped in a place like this.
バカバカしいぜ。たたらないでくださいって、柏手でも打つのかよ。
Jessica forced herself to look away from the bizarre doll. She couldn't bring herself to sit on a bed that wasn't hers. Then again, she didn't really feel like sitting down on a chair either. She had lost any desire to sit on anything in this room. Yeah, I don't think that Jessica would want to just sit on the chair next to the doll and drink some tea with the doll and ask how their day went. Wandering about aimlessly, I peeked out the window through the gaps in the curtains to stare at the dark, rainy night. What the hell am I doing? Hanging about in a VIP room this late just because that fight with Maria is still eating at me. This is beyond stupid. I am disappointed in myself. Beatrice, huh? Just when did that strange witch start living in this mansion? Grandfather was always yelling about Beatrice. Since it's apparently the name of his dead mistress, people started talking about how her ghost must haunt this mansion. There's that kid's horror story about a witch in the forest, which might be a ghost story made by the adults who stopped the kids from going there. The portrait grandfather had hung in April was really striking. And there was also that weird epitaph. The monologue, the narration over here tells me that this is happening in 1984, I think. Because if it was like last year or something, you would have said last year in April, but no. Yeah, the narration is talking about the current April. The creepy words on that, which sounded like some sort of ritual with human sacrifices, made the name of Beatrice seem all the more unnerving. At some point, those stories mix together, and they now say that the witch Beatrice exists. I don't believe in Beatrice, because I know she's just a fictional person made by the fusion of a few horror stories. That Beatrice, who was grandfather's mistress, probably did exist, but she wasn't a witch. The story of the Witch of the Forest was made by the adults to prevent their kids from getting lost in the woods. But that was just a made-up story, not reality. In fact, I've heard that kids were once threatened about wolves living in the forest. Apparently, the kids realized that wolves couldn't exist on the island, so it was changed to the witch. When the portrait was hung, that once fake character suddenly had a face, and people acted as though she'd been around since long ago. And that's right. It's all a ghost story someone made. A fiction. And Maria calls Beatrice her best friend, and the servants worship her like a household shrine. I just don't get it. It creeps me out. Oh. Hello, hello! The sudden ring of the phone made me jump so hard, I thought my heart would explode. Okay, well, who's calling at this particular hour? On this particular phone? there was a phone on the bedside table across from the one with the doll. It was ringing noisily. However, I was only surprised by the first ring. By the time it had rung 3 times, I had regained my cool enough to grumble about this being a prank done by someone trying to scare me. If I rushed to pick it up, I'd probably hear someone laughing at me, saying, "Hey, were you scared?" I thought about ignoring it instead, but it kept on ringing incessantly. It's a pretty loud sound to have going on and on this late at night. If Mom somehow manages to hear it from her room, I'm screwed.
Hey, hey. 取るぜ。取ってやるぜ。ああ、驚いたとでもいやいいんだろ。
I decided to pick up the receiver. I'll just say, that surprised me. And maybe follow that up with, looks like Beatrice didn't show up after all. After all, this is my victory in a sense.
もしもし。
ベアトリーチェ、こんにちは。
Hey, hello, Maria. Wait, what the fuck are you doing in the mansion?
え？マリア？
I don't get it. Did I hear that wrong? Why would Maria be calling here? Yeah, because this is well, unless this is an external line. But if it's an internal line, then that's quite something. Does that mean that Maria never left home to begin with? She's stuck on the island.
もしもし？
この間は楽しいお歌を聴かせてくれてありがとう。だからお返しにマリアもベアトリーチェに歌うね。習った新しいお歌を歌うね。
The voice, the intonation, the manner of speech, all of it clearly belonged to Maria. But what's she talking about all by herself? Nah, she's definitely talking to Beatrice. Like, she is on a completely different line. Maria just kept on talking happily as I stood there, stunned and unable to interrupt. Eventually, Maria started singing an old familiar kids song that Eva and I knew. Oh yes, it surely brings me back to the earlier roots. The earlier roots indeed. I don't get it.
マリア？もしもし？ちょっと待てよ。歌うのやめろよ。なんなんだよ。わけがわかんねえぜ。もしもし？
The voice, the lights, everything disappeared. In the pitch black, I couldn't see anything. Couldn't tell what was happening. Get it. What's going on?
Nani? 今の。
Does being in darkness really slow us humans down so much? I know it's dark, but I really do have absolutely no idea what just happened. What was that shuffling sound just now? I'm not sure I can explain it. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta know what that was all about. What about you, doll, on the chair, who is more than likely now gone? It was a loud sound like someone crawling out of bed. I won't say something as non-committal as I felt like I heard it. I won't say something as vague as I sensed the presence. I definitely heard it, right next to me, clearly. However, there was no change to the bed. No one had been sleeping there in the first place. The sheets were still perfectly straight. Someone had crawled out of bed and had laughed in a creepy voice before leaving the room. That's what it felt like. Felt like? I'm here, and the bed's right there. I'm not the only in the same room. I'm right next to it. So why am I so unsure about what happened just a few seconds ago? I grabbed the receiver, which had gone completely silent. and waited there alone, unable to move, in a quiet room that seemed exactly identical to the one I had first entered. Huh? What? If nothing had changed since the beginning, I could just pretend that the last minute or so didn't happen. However, if something had changed, that would be proof that something really did happen.
なんだよ。なんでねえんだよ。
Did it fall to the floor? No, it's not there. No matter where I look, from whatever angle, it's not there. Though the offering plate with the cookies and chocolate is still here, the thing they were being offered to, the doll, is gone. Ooh, my goodness!
嘘だ。
Then, what just happened? Is the Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have cackled out loud and left the room? No. That crawling sound was too loud to have been made by a doll. It was a noisy sort of sound, like a kid playing with a blanket and using it as a cape. Then, what? Is that Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have turned into a human and then run cackling from the room?
嘘だ。
After that, nothing happened. The doll alone disappeared, and nothing else changed. In a VIP room that had remained completely unchanged, was filled only with the sound of wind and rain. And I stood there, too shocked to move. You know, I have this thought that maybe Beatrice is under the bed. So I have this sudden urge of just jumping on the bed and just spook Beatrice out of the bed.
人形は結局見つかったのか？
物陰からベッドの下まで探したさ。それこそ中に入り込んでまで。
Okay, so you did check the bed as well. Okay.
でも見つからなかった。
一体あの部屋で何があったと考えてる？
ベアトリーチェ様のたたりなんて思いはしねえぜ。あるいは使用人の誰かのいたずらだったかもしれね
え。いたずら？
マリアの声はあらかじめカセットテープにでも取ってあって、それを午前2時ちょうどに電話して再生ボタンを押した。そしてほどほどのところで配電盤か何かで停電させた。それからあらかじめ貴賓室のどこかに隠れてた誰かが気持ち悪く笑いながら人形を持って出て行った。そう考えりゃ辻褄は合うぜ。
釈然とはしてないようだな。
そりゃそうだろう。だってこれが私を脅かすためのいたずらだとしたら大掛かりが過ぎるぜ。
They made Maria sing beforehand and recorded it. Then someone called the VIP room and replayed that recording. Then someone waited until exactly the right time and tripped the breaker for the VIP room. To turn off the power to the VIP room, you'd have to go down to the basement. There's a breaker box down in the boiler room. And there's no phone lying down there, so you'd need a different person to play back Maria's tape. I see. So, your car requires multiple people in that case. Okay, well, do I remember, like, any particular moment in the past where suddenly the lights went off in a room? Well, the only thing that I'm thinking of was in Game 6 when we entered the logic room, the logic error room, and Maria flipped the switch. But that's about it. But okay. So one person would need to be in the boiler room to use the breaker, and another person would have to use the phone. And you need another person to hide in the VIP room and cackle before leaving. And just how long would this last person have to hide in the VIP room beforehand? How long would they have to hide in a pitch black VIP room, under the bed, for example? Waiting to scare Jessica, who might or might not come.
魔女のたたりなんてあるわけもねえぜ。
You know, I did mention it a few times in the past, but, you know, in the story of Yumineko, we definitely focused a lot more on the current servants that have been in 1986. You know, Kumasawa, Genji, Goda, Shannon, and Kanon. Obviously, we did hear that there are other servants who work for the family, and they have like different day shifts and such. But it does make me think that maybe those other servants that we've never seen before, but we've heard their name, maybe those other servants are also working for Beatrice. I mean, again, it goes back to how Beatrice controls the 7 stakes, and the 7 demon girls, who may be the other servants, like in a realistic counterpart and such, that they are the servants. So it could very well be that those other servants may have done this prank as well, that they may have helped, because just for what Jessica mentioned here, you would need like 3 people minimum. And I also did hear those clanking noises in the room as well, which were like reminded me of the stakes, who use their stake forms to bounce around the room and such. The clanking metallic noises and such, so it definitely reminded me of that.
でもよ、人間のいたずらだと考えて、それだけの人間が緻密に示し合わせて、私を驚かせるためだけに何時間も暗闇で待ち構えてたって考える方が、私はよっぽど薄気味悪いぜ。
同感だな。いっそたたりの方がマシだ。そのことを後日使用人たちには聞いたのか？
聞いたってとぼけるに決まってるぜ。それに最低3人だぜ。あの日は源氏さんと郷田さんと熊沢さんとシャノンの4人が泊まってた。そのうちの3人があんな薄気味悪いいたずらに加担したってのか？わけわかんねえ。だから私は聞けなかった。
Sure. It had been a strange experience for her, but it wasn't something completely impossible for humans to do. Even so, it really must have been more unnerving to imagine a large number of people planning so carefully just to scare Jessica. It's no surprise that she found this scarier than Beatrice's curse.
今でも使用人たちがお前をはめたと信じてるか？
いや、多分ビビっちまった私の勘違いなんだよ。きっと人形はどこかに転げ落ちて、私がたまたまそれを見つけられなかっただけなんだ。
すべて気のせいだったと言いたいのか？
人形が消えた以外何の変化も証拠もない。マリアにも後日聞いたけど、歌のことも電話のことも知らないと言われた。とぼけたのか本当に知らないのかはわからないけれど、とにかくあの晩のあの出来事は私が確かにあったと言い張ってるだけで何も証明することができない。
皮肉だな。たとえお前が本当にベアトリーチェに会ったと言っても、それを証明できないのと同じだ。
しばらくはショックだったけど、時間が経って、あれは臆病な私が落雷か何かで一瞬だけ停電したのにびっくりして、庭木の枝がちぎれてバサバサ落ちる音を誤解したんじゃないかなって思えるようになった。
笑い声は？
変な鳥の鳴き声とか、とにかくそう聞こえてしまう何かの聞き間違いだったかもしれねえ。私は強がってるだけで、本当は信じられないくらい臆病だったんだ。だからあんなことがあったように誤解してしまったんだ。そう考えるようにして、あの晩のことを忘れようと自分に強く言い聞かせた。
すべては闇の中か。
人間忘れようと思えば結構できるもんだよな。以来ベアトリーチェという言葉を聞くたびに嫌な気持ちがこみ上げる。
Again, planting the seed of Beatrice in people's minds, little by little. And it definitely succeeded with Jessica.
でもそれを顔に出さないように努めてる。
うん。
おしまい。私に話せるのはこの程度の話だけだぜ。情けない話だから誰にも内緒に。私がビビリだったって誰にも知られたくねえからな。
Nah, you don't have to worry, Jessica.
わかった。最後に一つだけ質問したい。
貴賓室のことで？
違う。食堂でのことだ。
食堂？
お前の階段の直前の親族会議の日、食堂には親族全員が揃ったな。
ああ、当時はまだバトラは戻ってなかったけど、それ以外は全員いたよ。
Except Beller hadn't come back to the family yet. Okay, so he did come back in this particular game's timeline as well.
もちろん、じいさまは除くぜ。
演者は腹痛で空席だったな。それはお前の隣の席だな。